All right, I wanted to do a quick video. Um, I've had this thought going through my head for a couple of days now, and I just wanted to bring it out and see what other people thought about it. I keep having the phrase, "Upon my house shall it begin," come to my mind, and I want to talk about this and how it's the beginning of what I think is the tribulation. So, this phrase, "Upon my house shall it begin," comes from section 112 of the Doctrine and Covenants. And I think the question is, where is quote unquote my house located? A lot of people, I think, look towards Salt Lake. But let's read the verses real quick. It starts in verse 23. Verily, verily, I say unto you, darkness covered the earth, and gross darkness the minds of the people, and all flesh has become corrupt before my face. Behold, vengeance cometh speedily upon the inhabitants of the earth, a day of wrath, a day of burning, a day of desolation, of weeping, of mourning, and of lamentation. And as a whirlwind it shall come upon all the face of the earth, saith the Lord. And upon my house shall it begin, and from my house shall it go forth, saith the Lord. First among those among you, saith the Lord, who have professed to know my name, and have not known me, and have blasphemed against me in the midst of my house, saith the Lord. Therefore see to it that ye trouble not yourselves concerning the affairs of my church in this place, saith the Lord. But purify your hearts before me, and then go ye into all the world, and preach my gospel unto every creature who has not received it. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, and he that believeth not and is not baptized shall be damned. So you have to look at where this was given. In section 112 of the Doctrine and Covenants was given to the prophet Joseph Smith at Kirtland, Ohio, July 23rd, 1837. So I don't think that the Lord, is talking about Salt Lake City or Provo or any of those areas around there. I think the Lord, when he says my house, in this particular instance, he means Ohio. And not just Kirtland directly, but probably the areas around it. And if you subscribe to the Heartland model of the Book of Mormon geography, Ohio is a smack in the center of Nephite civilization. They expanded more west than that, of course, and more east, but Ohio played a big part geographically, even though it wasn't called Ohio back then. But if we look at the surrounding areas, what's happened lately? Well, on February 3rd, this year, 2023, a train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio occurred. This is an ecological disaster that has been compared to the Chernobyl disaster in 1986. Basically, a train was carrying hazardous materials and derailed in rural Ohio, just across the border from Pennsylvania. And although there were no real problems immediately, they figured that the chemical compounds on the train might be dangerous if they were left unreleased. And they didn't want a big bomb exploding, basically a bunch of train cars exploding and hurting a bunch of people. So they did the next worst thing, which is burning those chemicals off. And when you burn vinyl chloride, I'm not a chemist, by the way, this is just from what I've learned recently. If you burn vinyl chloride, it releases hydrogen chloride. And hydrogen chloride is incredibly toxic, and it's incredibly pervasive in the environment, meaning that once it gets into the environment, it doesn't really go away for a very, very long time. It doesn't break down very easily, and it will get into plant life, which means it will get into animal life, which means it will get into our food chain, both through the plant side of it and the animal side of it. And especially the immediate problems that it's caused, but on top of that, the long-term problems, this is a big deal. Bigger than what we think it is. When you burn hydrogen chloride, it is basically, it creates something that was used as a chemical weapon in World War One. So East Palestine, Ohio, if you look on the bottom right of the screen, is about 93 miles from Kirtland, which is northeast of Cleveland a little ways. And it's about an hour and a half of a drive. Back in Joseph Smith's time, maybe a couple of days. But they're pretty close together. And so with those chemicals, it doesn't just affect East Palestine, that small town. It's going to affect the whole region around it. And already people are having issues. There's nasty water and chemicals in the water. And basically, this is a big deal. It says, I found this online, and I'll put a link to this document, but basically says some of the potential side effects are cancer of your lungs, liver, or brain, leukemia, and lymphoma. It's an irritant to the skin, nose, eyes, throat, and larynx. And it can also cause frostbite if it's in liquid hydrogen form. That's not a problem here. But the top two are, this could long-term cause cancer in a lot of people. It can cause spontaneous abortion. It can cause sterility. It can cause birth defects. This is a pretty serious matter. And whether this is the event or not that starts these tribulations, I'm sure people would disagree with that. And I even disagree with it a little bit myself. I think this is just a continuation of what started about a year ago with the war in Ukraine. But in that last year, we've had mass casualties of war, but our economy has also gone to trash. Inflation is crazy. And now we have this ecological disaster that could potentially hurt us for a very long time to come. It's something to keep our eyes on. So my main point of putting this out there is to get prepared. We have been mourned for 90 years or so. I think it was the 1930s when the church started giving the council to have food storage. And in recent years, and you can find this on the church's Provident Living website, we've been counseled to have food and water and fuel if you can store it. I mean, not everybody has a way to do it safely or legally, but if you can, store fuel or firewood. Basically things to keep you alive. Because if this disaster is as big of a deal as what I believe it is, it's going to affect our food in the short term, within the year or two, as far as crops that will be planted in those areas. They'll be contaminated. And then that's going to spread wherever Ohio exports its crops to. But it's going to end up in a lot of our food supplies. And really the only way to avoid that is to be prepared. If things get bad enough, we're going to need to tap into our food storage and use that to survive. The other counsel we've been given is to get out of debt. I know this is difficult. It's difficult for me. It's difficult for everybody I know pretty much, but it's doable. Have more assets than liabilities if you can. Now, I'm not a fiduciary. I'm not a financial advisor. This is just me taking my own advice to try to pay off the debts as quickly as I can. We also need to take care of our bodies. For me, this is a big deal because I have some health issues. But I need to do what I can still to take care of my body, which I think being able to walk and carry things is going to be important in the years to come. But last of all, we are told in the scriptures that if we are prepared, we shall not fear. I know that there will be apprehension of the unknown, but President Nelson has counseled that those men who have paid the price for priesthood power will be able to protect their families and bless their families in the years to come. And really, we cannot do this on our own. We need the Lord's intervention. And the best way to receive his intervention is to keep our covenants and live righteously. So I hope that this council will be heeded. Get out of debt, get some food stored, and make a plan. Because this could happen to any town. Any town in this country could have issues like this. But I'm confident that if we trust in the Lord and heed the counsel from his living prophets, then we'll be taken care of.